Hello, good afternoon. My name is Tania Martin and I am the Neuro-diverse Centre of Excellence People and Operations Leader. Yay. And my role is about candidate attraction, recruitment and people process once people who are neurodivergent within our NCoEs join us at EY. I'm going to start with a bit of confession. That person just sat over there. Can you give me a wave? No, you. You, thank you. You're currently sat in my comfort zone. I am as far out of my comfort zone right now as I could be. So do you want to swap? No? But the reason I am stood up here is I am completely passionate about neurodiversity and what we're doing at EY and really, really happy to share with you. So today's session, I'm going to cover a few things, a bit of an introduction into what neurodiversity is, what is the Neuro-diverse Centre of Excellence, why are we doing it, why is it important, and what are the barriers to attracting and recruiting those that are neurodivergent into organisations. So I'm hoping at the end you may have some new knowledge and you might have an idea of what you might be able to do differently in your own organisation. So I'm going to start with what is neurodiversity. And to do this, I'm actually going to ask you to do something for me. So I would like you to think about an elephant. I'd like you to picture it in your mind. Is it big? Is it small? Is it moving? Is it static? Is there anything around it? Is it coloured in? Is it black and white? And now I'd like you very, very quickly to turn to the person next to you and quickly describe your elephants. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to describe their elephants? Can I just have a show of hands in the room as to who described the identical elephant? Your elephants were exactly the same. Pretty much? Yeah? But that's 2 out of this room. Was there anybody that had a really strange elephant? Surprise! I say strange. Different elephant. Really different elephant. So that is neurodiversity in action. All of us think differently and process information differently. I'm going to show you my elephant. I've got to figure out how to show you my elephant. So that is my elephant. And it's actually not my elephant. It is how my husband perceived my elephant to be. So as you can see, he wrote the word elephant out because I said it was a word. He drew some ears on top of my elephant, and I disagreed that those looked like elephant ears. So I drew an ear over here that he then turned into a bird. And then the conversation went into an elephant being chased by Hurricane Man in a hurricane. Fairly random in terms of the thought process that we went through, but it just shows how one simple idea can spiral into lots of innovative ideas. And that's what neurodiversity is all about. It's about capturing that creativity, those ideas that people bring. I'm going to introduce the word neurodivergent that many of you may know or may not know. And those that are neurodivergent have a cognitive variation where their human brain processes information. And it can include autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, to name a few. Question back to you. How many people out of 100 do you think are neurodivergent? Would anybody like to have a guess? 20%, exactly right. So 1 in 5 people are neurodivergent, which means in most of our organisations, there will be people who are neurodivergent surrounding you, and you may not even realise. They themselves might not even realise. So let me tell you a little bit about what the Neuro-diverse Centre of Excellence is. It started in the US in 2016, and it actually started as an autism at work programme, but very quickly they realised that the support they're giving those that are autistic were relevant to all those people that were neurodivergent as well. It is for those that self-identify as being neurodivergent who have a passion for tech and innovation. So they are technology and innovation centres with a focus on things like data science, cyber, AI and blockchain. We've now got 18 centres globally with over 400 people across those 18 centres in locations such as Canada, Spain, Poland, India, Costa Rica, and I always forget one, the US, and now in the UK as well. What the NCoE provides is an extended supportive environment for those that are neurodivergent. So it is about giving them the support where they can absolutely harness the strengths that those individuals bring to an organisation, but also recognising the challenges that those individuals have and providing the support for those challenges as well. One of the things that is really interesting is that 90% of those that join us stay. So the retention rate in tech roles at 90% is huge, if you bear in mind what that usually looks like in the tech and innovation industry. And the reason we're doing it, it taps into new sources of diverse talent. It allows us to embrace problem solving and innovation skills of those individuals. It has a brand impact, so not only what we're doing externally, but an employer brand impact as well in terms of candidate attraction, and it drives greater diversity in our workforce. So not only is it the right thing to be doing, it is also a solution to a problem where we have a shortage of talent in technology, and this is another way for us to recruit into that area. I'm now going to talk a little bit about disclosure. And disclosure is when you tell your employer that you are neurodivergent. And I want to give you some examples of how that might play out. Before I get there, of those 20 people that we've identified in that 100 that are neurodivergent, would anybody like to hazard a guess as to how many people might tell their employer? A quarter was a great guess. So 5 out of those 20. That's not a lot. Bearing in mind those individuals have struggles and challenges within the workplace and they're not saying. Right, so I'm going to twist this around. You are now recruiting, and you are recruiting a data scientist, and I am going to apply. So I'm going to disclose to you right now, I do have ADHD myself, and I'm going to apply for your job. So you've put on your job description about adjustments. Do I need adjustments? Actually, no, I don't need adjustments. So I'm not going to tick that box at this point in time. So you don't know I have ADHD at this stage. You invite me for an interview. Thank you very much. Excellent. And you ask that lovely question, which we don't ask very often anymore, but we used to in the past, which is, what are your weaknesses? And I can tell you, my time management is rubbish. I'm not great at organising things, and I'm not great at planning. But I don't tell you that, because I need to turn those into a strength. I can't turn those into a strength. They are things that I struggle with every single day, and I have coping strategies in place that help me, but I can't be trained to suddenly be able to do that in a different way. So I still don't tell you. But you offer me the job, which is fantastic. So I've turned up, it's day one, we sit down, and right now, all I want to do is make a good impression. Why would I want to tell you that I'm struggling with certain things, or I will struggle with certain things as I start to work with you? What may end up happening is possibly one of two things. I might get to the point where I get overwhelmed I'm working late because I'm having to work later to get the things done that other people find easy. And I start to feel really stressed, it impacts my well-being, I end up burnt out and not at work anymore. Or it gets picked up. Somebody suddenly goes, but you're not able to plan that very well, and you end up in a performance improvement situation. And at that point, that's when it comes out. Neither are great. It is really hard to admit you have challenges, particularly at work. And that's whether you're neurodivergent or not. It is hard to say, I struggle with this. And every time I stand up and I tell somebody I have ADHD, even though I want to share it, because it's important to share it, there is a little niggle in the back of my brain that goes, is this career limiting? Is somebody going to make a decision that actually they won't recruit me because of my ADHD? And in a recent survey by the Institute of Leadership and Management back in 2020, 30% of employers that were surveyed said they wouldn't even consider somebody with ADHD for a role. So, what's different within the NCoE? We focus on supporting challengers, giving people the support they need to do the things that they might potentially struggle to do. But we also harness their strengths. So we are looking at what are the brilliant things those people are bringing to an organisation, because there are loads, and making sure that they are utilised in the best way so they can thrive at work. We have somebody in our team at the moment who is self-labelled super dyslexic. From a resourcing perspective, we wouldn't put him on a project that required a 50-page report at the end of it. He is superb at data analytics and producing visualizations. He absolutely deserves to be in the role that he is in, but we shouldn't penalise him because he would struggle to sit there and write a report. So we give him the support, or we don't put him on that project. It's just thinking about it slightly differently. Where we need to start in relation to neurodiversity is at the beginning. It is the recruitment and the candidate attraction piece, in order to get more people who are neurodivergent into organisations, to harness the amazing talents that those people bring into organisations. So I was very lucky. About 9 months ago, I got to sit down with our head of experienced hire at EY and another team member in talent. And what we had done is I had spent quite a lot of time with our current technologists, pulling apart our recruitment process and coming up with innovative ways as to how we might do it differently next time. And I remember the conversation really well because our head of experience hire said to me, so what you're describing is an anti-recruitment process. And I was like, excellent, let's break it. And she was really happy to get on board in terms of some of the ideas that we had. We have been really, really lucky in that we are able to leverage 8 years of best practice from the US. And it is brilliant in terms of the process that they have pulled together. And we have just built on that. So what are some of the other things that we could potentially do differently? So from a candidate attraction perspective, we do it differently in that I spend a huge amount of my time talking to charities, so neurodiversity charities, talking to universities. We think of it from an intersectionality and a social mobility perspective as well. It is a privilege for some to have a diagnosis, a neurodivergent diagnosis, so therefore, how do we get to those that wouldn't be thinking about EY as a place to work and wouldn't think that they could get through our traditional recruitment process? That piece is really important. This is for individuals that would potentially fail at that first hurdle trying to get through our traditional recruitment process. We still do advertise down the traditional route, so it will be on LinkedIn, it will be on Indeed, it will be on Total Jobs, but we do try and think broader in terms of how do we attract candidates into our neurodiverse centres of excellence. Then when they enter the recruitment process, the first step, as I said, is the US's recruitment process that they have put in place. And it is focused on technical skill set and problem solving. That is what we're looking for. The first stage is actually split into 3 parts, so you get a real opportunity to be able to show what you can do before you get a yes and a no. And then after that first stage, they're invited to something called Super Week, which is actually 3 days, and it is a work simulation. So they are coming along to really experience what it would be like to work at EY. And it is as much for them to get a feel for us as it is for us to understand them. That's really, really important to us. Culturally, we need to fit. One of the things that we did in the UK in this latest round is we started to look at some of the unwritten rules and dispel some of the myths about recruitment. So, and I'm really calling them out, so making sure people are aware. So I do not care if you have blue hair. It does not impact your ability to do the role. I don't care if you're wearing a hoodie at an interview. It doesn't mean you're not a good technologist. I don't mind if you don't make eye contact, if that is a problem for you. It also doesn't impact whether or not you can do the role. I don't mind if you pause in the middle of an interview. It doesn't make a difference as to whether or not you can do the job. And finally, spelling and grammar, really? It drives me nuts. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you're recruiting somebody who's neurodivergent and they're dyslexic and they don't pick up on something in their application form, it is not a deal breaker in terms of whether or not we recruit somebody. We also look at adjustments for all. And we've done this in 2 ways. So there's a piece around accessibility of information. The first is our job description. So this time round, I was really keen to have a video job description. What recruitment actually did was way above and beyond what I was expecting, and they actually produced a brochure that was available in multiple different formats, which was fantastic. We also looked at the way people's different thinking and how they process that information, the different styles that they have, and we looked at ensuring that all information was provided in written format, video format, audio format, infographic, and all of the above if you wanted it. So it was really playing into, this is a really important process that they're going through, and we want to make sure that they're getting the information in the best way possible. We also decided to give the interview questions up front, because interviews are incredibly anxiety-inducing for most people, and we're not trying to catch people out. So what is the reason why we wouldn't give them the interview questions up front? We also focused on building psychological safety really on, so we've got a lot of our technologists on video talking about their experiences, reassuring people about the process, just giving them a bit of a sense as to what it's actually like to work in the Neuro-diverse Centre of Excellence. And the best bit about everything I've just told you is the power of a diverse team. So all of those thoughts and ideas come from many, many different people working together to create something that's truly different and unique. And what you're hearing isn't rocket science. These are small little tweaks that make a massive difference to a group of individuals that would really like the opportunities to work for big organisations. So just to give you some results for Glasgow, we are opening a centre in Glasgow in March next year. We've had 50 applicants for 8 roles, which is brilliant. We haven't paid any agency fees, so everybody has come direct to us, which is something I'm really proud of. We've shortened the interview time, because having the questions up front, providing as much information up front means that they don't ask as many questions, and they're prepared for the interviews. And we have an engaged, happy candidate group who are providing brilliant feedback. It's a breath of fresh air. I've never found an interview process confidence building before. It's heartwarming to hear, and I absolutely love my job. I'll come back to the elephants. So elephants are, they live in herds. They care and look after each other. They have a female leader. And for me, they bring together, what they epitomise is the word solidarity. And I think one of the things about neurodiversity is that it really does bring to the forefront, having that conversation, that we are all human. We all have strengths, we all have challenges. And the one thing I guess I would ask of you, or if you can take away from this, is actually being human and showing that humanness might actually give somebody else the confidence to speak out and share their own challenges. So, any questions?
I don't know how many of us are in the room today, but on behalf of the neurodivergent community, thank you very, very much for your talk today. And thank you for attending, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Hi, thank you very much for your talk. How long has the COE existed?
So, in the US since 2016, but in the UK, our first one was in Manchester at the beginning of this year, and the second one will be Glasgow. So we've got 7 people in Manchester. They're all data science and data analysts, and then we're recruiting another 8 in Glasgow, who will be a combination of data scientists and ServiceNow consultants.
Wonderful.
So,
and globally, how many people work in the neurodivergent COE?
over 400.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for leading the way.
Yeah, thank you.
So obviously you've already got like 5-6 years experience on leading this way, and you've got like almost like the human infrastructure to support the program as you're running it. But I guess coming from like a step behind, or let's say if in 2015 you had to think about this,
Yes.
how can if you just had one normal recruitment pipeline, how can we as interviewers, not necessarily as HR people,
Yes.
how can we make that process better? How can we help without us knowing the candidate's neurodivergent? How can we actually help make that process better?
I think it starts with the conversation right at the beginning with the job description. So a lot of people who are neurodivergent will not apply if they don't tick every single box. What we've done with our job spec is taken away, you know, the fluff at the front that describes the organisation, and it is useful. We all do it. Every single organisation does it. But actually what we've done is we've still got it in there, but we moved it to the end. So when you go into that job spec, you instantly are like, this is the role and this is what we need. And it's worded in a way that suggests you don't have to tick every single box. So that is the best starting point at your job specs, making those more accessible. Yeah, that would be, yeah. No worries.
Thank you ever so much for that wonderful talk. It was really nice. Couldn't tell you were out of your comfort zone at all.
Thank you.
Really good, beautiful talk. Thank you. When you talked about disclosure, we in my organisation we have a particular problem, and I think people feel as though we're trying to force disclosure so that we can talk about numbers and we can present our media packs and we can make some big noise with recruitment. But
Yeah.
are there any ways that you've tackled disclosure in EY, and has it improved?
So one of the things that we found by talking about it more, so the NCoE itself has had a lot of senior leadership sponsorship. So we're now talking about neurodiversity more from the top down. And one of the impacts it's had as a result of us talking about it more is more people are comfortable to start talking about it more. So you need those people that are willing to stand up and talk about their own experience, and you need to find the allies that then sit alongside them and go, we support you, we understand, we'll help you. And that's where it starts. So our neurodiversity community has increased 4 times in terms of the amount of people that have joined it since we started talking about the NCoE in January. So in 9 months, it has quadrupled in terms of the amount of people that are now part of that community. So it works if you talk about it.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious. I have not understood if this recruitment effort ends up integrating people with, like, I don't know how to express it. But I would like to think that these 7 people are not recruited to work by themselves.
They are absolutely
alone
not.
in Manchester somewhere.
Yes. No.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
So the way the model works, this is a non-traditional recruitment route into EY. But once they actually join us, they have the support of a line manager and adjustments, etc. But they are integrated onto client work. So if we're going to harness the power of neurodiversity, we need to ensure that they're getting the breadth of experience within EY as well. So yes, they absolutely are not sat in a room somewhere in Manchester. They are working on client work alongside consultants externally. Yeah. Good question. Should have picked that one up.
Hello. Thanks for the talk. It was really interesting, really useful. I'm interested in your application journey. Do you try to encourage people to disclose a disability or additional needs at that point? If so, what do you do? Or do you just cater for all scenarios during the process in the first place?
So for the Neuro-diverse Centre of Excellence, there is an assumption that they're neurodivergent to join us in the first place. So we talk a lot about neurodiversity as part of that recruitment process. I would never ask anybody to show me a piece of paper to say I am X. That is not how we work. For the rest of our processes, and one of the things that we're finding within EY is that what we're doing within the NCoE is having broader ripples. So people are really interested across talent in terms of what's working, what can we use broader than just within the NCoE. I know within graduate recruitment, I work with them quite closely on their diversity form as part of the graduate application, so we're starting to capture it now, and it's been worded in a way that is A, we capture the information, but B, what adjustments do you need? These are some examples of adjustments that we've offered people in the past. Would these be useful? Please let us know if that's the case. But yes, so from an NCoE perspective, we absolutely, they are neurodivergent when they join us, and we know that, but we don't ask them to tell us what. They do tell us, but we don't ask them to tell us. Okay.
One of the things I do is that I always start an interview by saying, are there any adjustments you need to make?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that's probably too late for some adjustments. Like
Yes.
Maybe there's 4 people in the room and they're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You need to know some of that up front.
It's in the application process. And as I said, it's still hard to say it, though. It's still hard to say it. But yeah, giving examples, I think, helps. Would this help you? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Have you seen cultural differences in EY in different countries as to how well neurodiversity is spoken about and talked about?
That is a good question, which I don't know the answer to. Sorry.
That's okay. I asked this from the perspective, so I work in HSBC, and we've got about 20,000 people in technology.
Yes.
Neurodiversity is a big focus for us, and how do we move forwards on this agenda? And we've got such a huge proportion of people in India and China, and there's so many differences between all of these countries.
Yeah, and I think there is also there's a cultural difference in terms of actually disclosing or want to even get the diagnosis in the first place in some countries. We have got a centre in India. I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm going to hand over to her.
Yeah, sorry. So I lead the Neuro-diverse Centres for EY. Tania Martin going on this. So I can answer that in a brief sense, that our global leader, yes, we definitely see cultural, area, regional differences, either internally here in the UK, obviously everyone's different intersections and there are different cultures, has an impact, but also particularly in India and some parts of Europe as well, where it isn't a conversation that's happening in society, so it has an impact in the workplace as well. So we're really proud actually that particularly the US, UK and Australia and Japan, I think as well, are really leading the way in having those conversations, and it's having an impact on the rest of Europe. And we do have a centre in India, as Tania said. So it was a different journey, but it is working very well.
Yeah.
But come and talk to us about it, because we'd love to share our experience.
Thank you.
I've got a question on clients. You mentioned those earlier. What sort of conversations are the clients coming to you with that your people are planted into as part of the integrated team? But they must be kind of curious, a bit like HSBC, they're a client of ours. Are they coming to you to ask all sorts of best practice questions as well?
So yes and no. Most of our clients wouldn't know they had somebody from the NCoE within their team unless that was shared. But what we are finding is that there are some clients that are actually really interested in working with us because of the NCoE, because of that diverse thinking that they're bringing, because it aligns to the S in ESG as well. So we are finding that sometimes it's actually a competitive advantage for us in terms of winning work. People are more interested in working because we're even thinking about this in the first place. So yeah, from a client perspective, externally, in terms of what we're doing, yes, but ideally from a candidate, an employee perspective, they wouldn't know they had somebody in the NCoE on their team.
Just maybe a follow-up question, because you guys described what you're doing to bring in neurodiverse talent. What are you doing when people are with you? Do you have any additional kind of programs, activities?
Yes.
How do you support them in the kind of structured way?
Yeah. So I didn't cover that. There is a huge amount more we do, but I focused on recruitment. So they all have a line manager, so a dedicated line manager, which is really unusual. Somebody who just line manages. Most people line manage as part of a broader role that they have. They are somebody who is experienced at working with those who are neurodivergent. They will work very closely with them on the client projects in terms of the deliverables, so they'll give the support in terms of what needs to be delivered. We also look at adjustments and support, but we go over and above with that as well. So if people don't say, I need to go through adjustments process, we still go, okay, but we want to give you another layer of support. So one of the things we do when people join us is really focus on the strengths. So one thing I'm massively passionate about is how do we equip people with the confidence to be able to go out and say, I'm great at that, but this bit I'm not so good at, and this is the support I need. So we work on that piece as well. Okay, no worries. All right, one last. I'm conscious I'm overrun and I've got.
So,
yep.
Through my career, and more particularly of late, I've used as a mechanism, and I don't know if you're aware of it, the Mind Charity has what they call a Wellness Action Plan. WAP.
Right, I'm not aware.
It's really good for somebody like me to be able to vocalise what I react, or how I react, or why I react. What can people do me to support me? Do you encourage such a plan that you can share between the employee and the employer?
Yes, so we looked at, so workplace passports or something we looked at early on. We leave it up to the individual. So what we've decided that, yes, if somebody can explain what are the things they need support with, as long as they can articulate that, how they decide they want to communicate that is up to them. Some people do like to write it down. Some people like to have a piece of paper that they can hand somebody. Others really don't want to.
Yeah.
So, and one size does not fit all. So we've got to keep it flexible. Brilliant. Thank you so much for everybody listening. Thank you.